Let's get underway. We've got a couple of things tonight to discuss. This is the Town of West Newbury Planning Board, Tuesday, May 21st, and it is 7 p.m. The first item on our agenda is a continued public hearing on 125 River Road. I know it's been continued. Do we need to officially open the hearing, Sue?
You do need to open it.
Okay, so I move to open the
Continue it.
public hearing that had been continued at 125 River Road.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Brian Murphy, aye.
Rick
All
Cook, aye.
ayes.
Tim Cronin, aye.
So it's 4-0. We are missing a member here, but she may join us later on. Okay, so not quite sure. Dennis, the Guici, the engineer, will let you have a few words first, and then we'll get into the meat of things here.
Members of the public wishing to attend the public meeting may call or email.
Whoop, not sure who that was.
No.
Oh no.
I
So
don't see-
Dennis, do we have you? Yes.
Yes. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Good evening, members of the board. Dennis Gricci, an engineer with Andover Consultants, here on behalf of the applicant, Michael Fusco, for the Eagles Nest definitive subdivision. If the board would like, I can share my screen and kind of give a brief overview of the project just to remind everyone, and then kind of an update as to where we are, and then
Sure.
answer any questions.
I think that makes sense. Thank you.
All right, so my screen coming up.
Yes.
Yes, but we see your sidebars as well.
Over here.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm just gonna jump around. So this is the subdivision in its most recent iteration. So again, it's 125 River Road, which is this parcel here, 171 River Road. They're essentially combining their parcels in order to create a right-of-way, which would remain as a private way, and two buildable lots. The green parcel here would be 125 River Road. There was a discussion about the frontage or the potential lack of frontage for 125 River Road. So we've provided more than enough frontage for 125 River Road along the new private way. They're also going to maintain their frontage along River Road, which is what is providing access to the house currently. 171 River Road would maintain frontage along River Road. They'd also have frontage along the right of way. Then we'd have the two single family lots. I'm going to go back over here. So again, we have an existing conditions. We do have wetlands on the site, which were delineated, and part of what we've been doing over the last several weeks was getting that wetland boundary reviewed by the Conservation Commission, and ultimately we'd agreed upon what we're looking at now. So this delineation has been reviewed by the commission and their peer reviewer, and we've agreed upon the delineation. So the proposed project, creating a private way for the construction of two single-family homes. Each home would be serviced by an on-site sewage disposal, so a septic system. They'd have private wells. We're also providing some stormwater treatment through a crushed stone recharge trench along the side of the driveway. And we also have dry wells for collection of the roof runoff. The project would require the crossing and filling of two wetlands. So that's something that we're working with the Conservation Commission and their peer reviewer. And I know at the last meeting or at our site walk with the board on the 25th, there was some discussion about the site distance looking westerly on River Road. So we have, added a notation to the plans, and the applicants are agreeable to remove, some of the landscaping and the vegetation that would, potentially hinder the site distance in that direction. Another item of discussion was the test pits. So we are scheduled to conduct test pits this Thursday. So we have the health department on notice. They will be witnessing the test pits for the septic systems. We have a soil evaluator and the contractor with an excavator that will be on site this Thursday to conduct the test pits. So we're hopefully going to check that off our to-do list in the next few days. Just the light areas for reference. These are the areas where we are proposing some wetland replication. So again, that's something the Conservation Commission is looking at as part of our filling of the wetlands to access the uplands. We are going to be, filling and then replicating the wetlands at a 2-to-1 ratio. I think that's generally the update. We did receive peer review comments from Meridian. We've submitted revised plans, which again were dated April 29th. And then recently, the beginning of last week, we received a follow-up letter from Meridian with a few outstanding items, which we're hoping to address in the next week or two. We also are waiting for a final peer review letter from the Conservation Commission's peer reviewer, Horsley Witten. So our goal would be to respond to and address the remaining comments from both Horsley Witten and Meridian in the next revised plan set, hopefully as soon as we receive the conservation comments. So if the board members have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them and provide a response if I'm able to.
Yeah, I don't have any at the moment. I'll be talking to David Kelly in a moment. Other members, do you have any questions at this point? Okay, hearing none at the moment. So what I'd like to do, just so we can finally get things, kind of crossed off the list and whatnot, is review the latest Meridian letter, which I think was dated May 12th. And I want to ask the board members, hopefully you have had a chance to review that. Do you feel the need to review each and every item that's on there, or only the items that Meridian flagged in red as needing some discussion among board members?
For me, just what's in red.
Brian, I did want to address some of the waivers, since I'm not sure all of those are in red, noted in red, but where Meridian asked a question and the response was that the applicant has submitted a waiver request. There are a few of those I just wanted to ask some questions about.
Sure. Yeah, and we can deal with that separately, I think.
Mhm.
Ann, do you have any thoughts on how you?
The hybrid makes sense to me. Address the red items while we have David Kelly here, and then we can talk among ourselves about the waivers.
Sure. Okay. And probably I think all of these will probably just get clarified as Dennis mentioned in his next iteration, but best that we just run through these. David, do you have, can you put up your list and go right to the letter where the items in red? And if not, maybe Sue can. I'm not sure what's easier here to work with.
I can
Okay.
absolutely pull up my list. Good evening, David Kelly, Meridian Associates. Hopefully you can all hear me.
Yeah.
Yes.
I tried to, the letter is lengthy, but as you was explained by Brian, I color coded it, try and make it as simple a review as possible.
It
Items
was
in
terrific,
green.
David. Yeah, really was very helpful that way.
Good. Items, the comments in black, initial response in blue, the final response from Dennis, and then a sign off basically from Meridian in green. So
Yes.
any of the ones that I'm scrolling, if it's green, I'm just going to skip by it.
Yes.
The ones with the orange underline are basically, in my opinion, addressed, and it's just whether the board would like to, how they would like to act on those waivers. And I'll also preface the items in red that I'm going to briefly discuss are mostly just housekeeping issues. As I'm going through it, I don't recall there being anything in here where it was a showstopper or anything of significance.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just think, we do need to just read through it and
One quick thing, just it's the old professor in me. I think you want to change your spelling from differs to defers, DEFERS.
We'll definitely, in the final sign off letter, that'll be, hey. So we get down on page 4, we're at item 10.
Yes.
And again, this kind of circles my original comment about the entire boundary of the subdivision because it's definitive. The meets and bounds of the entire property needs to be depicted in some way, shape or form. And sheet 2 does show the entire subdivision, but it does not show the meets and bounds. It looked like on the screen that Dennis had up earlier that they've already addressed that. So that'll just be a housekeeping issue. It doesn't change anything.
Okay, fine. And if board members should just speak up if they have a question on this.
The test pits, Dennis had spoke that they're going to be taking care of those this Thursday. So I'm assuming then on the updated plans, they would be shown, be it on the grading plan or on the record conditions plan on a detail sheet somewhere. Then that takes care of that item.
No.
Number 20, since the driveway is off-centered from the right-of-way, the applicant did show the bearings and distances and the radius for the right-of-way itself, but they don't coincide with the driveway. And it's unclear in the regulations if that is for construction or if that is meant to show the math of the right-of-way. So to make sure that it was addressed, either have the meets and bounds of both or a note explaining, some sort of a note saying why there's only one or the other. Dennis, I think you and I can figure something out on that one. So that was
Okay. And I should say, Dennis, if you have an issue that you want to talk about with one of these, please speak up as well.
No, I think we're gonna add both to the plan,
Yeah.
David, and we're gonna try to make it so it's all legible. But yeah, that's not an issue. If I have a question on one as David's going through, I will unmute and speak up, but I think we're on the same page.
Good. Okay.
item 21 is the same. It's just a different wording.
Right. Yep. Okay.
Item 23, the left and right profiles are not shown. That's very simple. It's not really needed, but it's again a requirement in subdivision regs, so it should be shown.
Correct.
Number 25, more or less piggybacks on items 21 and 20 and 21. Number 26 refers to the clearing for the site distance out at the front at the main entrance. And there was a note that said clearing is to occur to provide site distance. And I thought the note should be elaborated to state that it should be to the satisfaction of the planning board so that contractor doesn't go out there and cut, like a little half-inch sapling and say, we did it. And in reality, that's not, that's not going to provide any additional site distance. So.
Okay. That sounds reasonable.
On that particular one, I was just curious, is there a different site distance that, has been established that's less than 250 feet? I know it's tight where that turn is.
I missed the first part of that. My apologies.
Sorry, and this may be more for the applicant, but I was just wondering the 250 feet, that's the waiver that's being sought. And I think it's really helpful to remove those plants, or cut them back, whatever is going to improve the visibility, especially for people, making a left turn, for example, out of the new street. But what distance is there? I know the waiver is for the 250 feet. So I'm just wondering what site distance would there actually be?
It's on one of these, Dennis, I believe.
Yeah, we can show that on the plan.
Yeah, it was shown on at one point.
Yeah,
Okay.
So maybe just jot down to show what the site distance is again.
Okay.
So yeah, Tim, you would just like to see what actually will be there, given that there is a curve in the road. Anyway.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Yeah, if we're granting a waiver, we should be going from X to Y, it should be specific.
Yes.
As we continue to scroll.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if it actually is 250 feet.
Yeah, I can,
Yeah.
once we go through this, I still have the previous plan, which does show the distance. I can
Okay.
circle back real quick. Now we're basically getting near the end of the original comments. They had added some notes that were required for the cistern design, and there were some spelling errors in there that I think occurred when they did like a file reduced size on the PDF.
Yep, okay, sure.
Nothing major, again, nothing significant, just
Nope.
if we're. And then,
I think we get down to the C
Yep.
section, yes.
yeah, there was, the test pit waiver was originally shown, then it came off, but I wasn't sure if them providing when they were gonna provide the test pits versus approval of the plan. So I just want some clarification there, if they were still asking for the waiver or not, but it sounds like if they're submitting the test pits on the next set of plans, this waiver would no longer be required.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've always preferred to see the test bits. And I'm sure they'll find something adequate out there.
There
So,
was just a small drafting error not even an error, just small drafting on the locus plan. What you see on the screen here were all the comments I'd originally had on the plans. They've all been addressed.
right,
And then these new items here, these are
correct.
just straight minor drafting items on the plans. There's nothing in here that changes the design in any way or form. That's just a request for a little bit more information or some information that was previously shown on plans that wasn't shown on the new plans.
Okay.
I can spell through each one if you want me to, but there's nothing here worth.
No,
going
I mean, I'm fine with it, and I think we'd just be looking for you in a final review saying that this has been addressed to your satisfaction, David.
And that was it. So basically, there's just half a dozen small comments right here for just a little bit of clarification on construction, some elevations and some construction detail. That's it. Nothing
Okay,
that changed the design in any way.
okay, good. Thank you. It was a lot of information, very well laid out. You guys did a great job with it.
Thank you.
So can we just take a look at Tim's comments? I don't know if you had any other comment on the waivers. Could we pull
Yeah.
up the waiver list? And I'm not sure who can do that. I
It's
know
on
I
the,
don't have it in my
I
fingertips.
know it's on the plan. Sue, do you have the ability to do that?
I can share my screen if,
Yes.
Oh, that'd
Sue,
be
you're
great.
muted.
Anyone who has it.
Dennis, do you want to pull? Okay, there we go.
Thank you, Dennis. So, I just had a question about a few of the waiver requests. And they kind of correspond to items in the letter. And as the chairman said, this is really helpful the way this is organized. So the first one has to do with the waiver from the requirement to show major existing features of the land, which is, I guess, was item number 7 in the letter. And it's 3.3.3.2.1. And so these are features within 100 feet of the subdivision. Is a waiver necessary for that, or are these actually shown on the plan?
so the wetlands within 100 feet, I mean, again, probably not. We didn't locate wetlands. The flag 1B, 2B are on this adjacent property. That just, I think the wetland biologist doesn't know exactly where that property line is. Again, we didn't follow this line, again, much further onto the abutter's property. Same thing over here. We didn't chase this boundary as far as it could go. So I think we've captured everything that we need for what we're proposing to do. But again, so I think we're requesting a waiver, I suppose, to the extent that we need one.
Yeah.
Go gonna say my thought on that one, Dennis, if you just pull up like sheet 2, the colored overall, yeah. Most of the stuff shown in the development area, like where the house lots are going, is shown to my satisfaction within the property line. Everything down to the very bottom of the page is, in my opinion, not necessary to show where housing or any
Right.
other structures are down there, because the project here is tucked up in that corner.
Right, yeah, and I think it's limited to the 100 feet, of the subdivision, so it wouldn't be the whole property anyway. But I was just curious if it was significant, if there was anything within that 100 feet. It doesn't appear that to be the case, but I was just curious why there was a need for a waiver for that.
Was it strictly because we didn't want to go on to the abutters property? Is that more or less the answer? Or either Dennis or David?
Yeah, more or less. I think that in our experience, some abutters can get a little anxious when you're on their property flagging wetlands.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
I can understand.
Understandably.
I think with the wetlands we've located, we've pretty much established that, that 90% of the site is within the buffer zone of a wetland. So I don't know how locating additional flags over here would change the fact that there's a wetland here and a wetland, we know there's a wetland here, so.
Yeah, it's not all the wetlands. It's only anything that's significant. I think it's called, major existing features. So, if there was a source of the wetland, for example, I think that was the idea.
Let's face it, major existing features is kind of vague.
Yes.
But if even down at the bottom where it says remaining area, there was a 2-acre pool or a pond, that's not gonna have any impact on anything.
Gotcha. See, we
Okay,
talked
that-
about, we
Go
talked
ahead.
about the site distance. So you're still seeking a waiver on the frontage?
Yeah, I
If
understand
if it's necessary, I think, was the request, I think. But I still see that on the list.
Yeah, we're saying that we have more than the adequate frontage along River Road here. It's well in excess of the 200 feet that's required. But again, to the extent the board feels it's necessary, we would request the waiver. Because again, we have 83.5 feet of frontage on 125 here. And then the remainder of the frontage is coming from 171. As everyone knows, the project is essentially going to kind of be a land sharing between 171 and 125. So we do have adequate frontage if we're combining those two parcels, which again is essentially what we're doing. We're just kind of skipping the step of merging the land and just creating the subdivision.
Okay. We can
I think we're
revisit that
still
one.
requesting it just to make sure that there's no confusion or any issues.
Mhm. That's what I surmised. Okay, those are the only questions I had about the waiver list.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Tim.
Thanks.
Other members have further comment or question on the waiver list?
Not on the waivers.
Okay. Okay, good. So, well, let's see. It sounds like perhaps you have a further question anyway, Ed.
I do. I just have, I think it's a process question. We've probably sort of skirted around it already. The Conservation Commission had submitted a lengthy document. It sounds like they're looking for some more things to happen, and then we know that the test pits are still going to happen. So is the roadmap that you'll get the feedback from the test pits, from the Conservation Commission, make whatever changes you need to make to the plan set and resubmit? That'll be the final set of drawings, and we'll have that in a week or two. Is that the thinking?
We're waiting for the conservation's peer reviewer to submit their final letter. We had a hearing last night for conservation, and
Have you brushed your teeth yet?
Yes.
they weren't exact, but hopefully within the next week
So
or
if
so they'll
Nono
get us a final
calls,
letter,
you can.
and then we'll have to take some time to respond.
Okay. So there'll be one more go around of drawings that we'll see. Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
Okay, yeah, well, that leads me to my, we usually try to wrap these things up, to make sure there's nothing substantial that comes out of the Concom hearings. Frankly, I think we would be in a position, barring any changes, that we could probably vote on this next meeting, but I'm not sure that we'll have those, the Concom drawings, et cetera, in place. Did you have any thoughts on that, Dennis, on a deadline? Your
I'm sorry,
time?
was the,
I mean, the timing of when you think you'll have the
so
the Concom matters wrapped up.
we've continued the conservation meeting until June 17th. The next meeting will be on June 3rd, but they will not have a quorum, so we pushed it out to June 17th. So if we can get a letter from the peer reviewer, say within the next week to 10 days, we can have revised plans by the first week in June. Sometime in that range, be June 3rd to June 7th.
Okay. Sue, when is our meeting in June? I know we have an early one, and I'm looking at my calendar here.
June 4
18th.
and June 18. Mhm.
June 18th. I mean, I'd like to get this, wrapped up and whatnot, but I know there's a lot of Concom work, obviously, on this project. I don't see the issues. I don't see issues from our standpoint here, and other members, if you disagree, please speak up. So. I think, yeah, it sounds, are we best to just continue this to the 18th? You'll have submitted anything revised to Meridian, and we'll evaluate. And we will probably need another extension, I believe. Sue, is that correct?
My recollection, it was till June 30th. I can double check that and let you know in just a second.
Guys, there's a major storm about to hit, and I gotta close some windows in the house. I'll be right back.
Sure. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I can see the sky. I can hear the thunder, actually.
It's pretty black out here. I was going to say if
It's pretty
I go
impressive
dark here
rolling in over the river. It was
Yeah.
I'll bet. It comes right
a
down.
lot
the
of
road,
lightning.
doesn't it? Yeah.
yeah.
Brian, I'll make a comment that may make this your date decision a little easier too. I think I am going to have to miss the meeting on June 4th.
Okay.
I have a competing thing that I'm going to need to take care of. So
Okay. Yeah, so I think I'll discuss with Sue, the whether we would feel comfortable going ahead and approving this without having full and complete blessing of the Concom's piece. But I'll discuss that with her. But I guess what I'm trying to say is I think we're in a good place, planning board wise.
And
With you.
June 30th is the extension date.
All right.
So
all
if it
right.
was to
So-
be, if we were to go beyond that, we would need another extension.
Yeah, it'd be nice not to have to go beyond that. So we'll discuss the issues on that with I'll take it up with Sue, and but just know, yes, I think from us, we're in good shape, and you've done a good job. It's been a long process, and about the best I can offer to you at the moment. Oh, yeah, Dennis, I think you're muted.
Mhm.
I know, yeah. Dennis, were you saying something? Yeah.
No, sorry. If that's, so as the commission, if we do need a continuance, Sue, or we're happy to provide one,
Okay.
or an extension of time to act, I should say.
Yeah. Well, let's see if we can avoid that, and move this forward, okay? Any other questions, comments, board members?
Nope.
No, either. All right, I move to continue this to June 17th. That is the correct date, Sue?
18th.
I'm sorry, it's the 18th. The 17th is the Concom meeting. I
Second,
move, yes, I'll adjust that too. I move to continue this to June 18th at 7 PM.
second.
Second, all those in favor? Brian Murphy, aye.
Rick Cook, aye.
It's 4-0 in favor. All right, Dennis, I think we're getting there.
All right. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
And you'll be in touch
Good
with, I'm sure you and David will chat and just clear up those
Yes.
few housekeeping items, basically. Yeah.
I will follow up,
Thank-
David.
All right.
Thanks, David.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thank
Good
you very much.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Very good, everybody. Good progress here tonight. All right, let's see, what's up next? We have the 114 Ash Street A&R plan before us. And do we have someone here that's going to be presenting that, Sue, or is that going to be you, or?
I can put it up unless Vanessa wants to, but I'm happy to share right now.
Oh, yeah, but Vanessa's here listening or something.
Yep.
Easy.
I think she'll present. I'm happy to put it up.
Okay. Vanessa, are you on? I'm not hearing Vanessa.
No, I saw her.
She's here. Maybe she stepped away. I can text her. Give me a second.
Can you hear me
Thank you.
now?
Oh, yes, we can
Yes,
hear
Yeah,
you.
hello,
sorry,
Vanessa.
my internet is unstable, not surprisingly. So I am here.
Good,
So yes,
thank you.
Vanessa Johnson Hall. I'm the Director of Conservation, Essex County Greenbelt. Some of you may know that we are in the process of protecting Evergreen Farm at 114 Ash Street. This Form A plan is required for us to be able to fully protect it. So our plan is to acquire the property on May 29th. That is our current deadline. And immediately subsequent to our acquisition of that, to sell lot one to our buyers, Lydia Sisson and Derek Mitchell. I believe Derek's on the call as well.
Mhm.
We initially were hoping to sell lot one and lot two to them at the same time, but the state of Massachusetts program for reviewing and approving conservation restrictions is severely backlogged, and we're not able to predict how long it will take to approve that conservation restriction. Sorry, I jumped ahead. So our plan is, let me back up a little bit. Our plan is to protect the property two ways. One is to sell 18 acres to the Department of Fish and Game. That's lot 3 on this plan. And then the second piece is to sell lots 1 and 2 to a private buyer and immediately buy back a conservation restriction on lot 2. So the town and Greenbelt together will be acquiring the conservation restriction on lot 2. Any questions on that? So So initially, we were hoping to sell lots 1 and 2 to our buyers at the same time. But again, the state's protracted conservation restriction review process makes us unable to even predict when that conservation restriction will be approved. In the meantime, our buyers had to put their house on the market, and it's since sold. And so they are very eager to move into a new house. So what we planned to address that was to bifurcate our sale to them into 2 different lots. So to do that, we had to divide the property into 3 lots. So lot 1 will be sold to them as soon as possible after Greenbelt acquires the property. Lot 2 will be sold to Lydia and Derek once the conservation restriction has been approved by the state and we can go forward with signing the conservation restriction. And I'm
Good.
happy
Well,
to answer any
sounds like
questions.
you've done a good job juggling the complexity of this. Yes.
Been a lot of juggling.
Well, well done. Um, I'll entertain some questions from board members on this. We've seen, I think we've all known about this for a while, and obviously we all participated in, the vote for funding, etc. But are there questions from the board members on this?
Oh,
Not hearing
Yeah.
any.
No.
Okay, no, and that's just fine. Um, Sue, do we need and I have no questions on this, what we're about to do here. Sue, do we need a separate motions on each of the lots?
You do not. You just need a vote to endorse the ANR.
Okay. Well, I'm going to turn to our favorite A&R endorsing motion maker, Ann
All
Bardine,
right. Yes, it's
to provide the honor of doing the motion
Right.
on this.
all right. I move that the planning board endorse this plan as one not requiring approval under the subdivision control law.
second.
Thank you. I hear a second. So all those in favor? Brian
Ray
Murphy,
Cook,
aye.
aye.
Tim Cronin, aye.
And and I presume you voted yes?
I did. I'm sorry. Yes.
I just didn't hear you. Yes. The motion passes 4-0. I think we're in good shape. So is there a deadline for us to sign this imminently? We have the Memorial Day weekend, etc. upon us.
Well, I will date it as of today's date. The signatures, you had until tomorrow to approve or to endorse. So the vote has been taken. I will put it in the lobby tonight. So along with the pen. So whenever you're able to endorse it, that would be great. She has more time to record it, of course, but I'm sure
So
she'd like to get that
yeah,
as soon as possible.
I'm a little confused.
Yeah,
do we need to-
ideally, I need to get it to our attorney no later than, actually, it's being recorded. It would be great if I could FedEx it on Tuesday morning, no later than Tuesday morning to our title company.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's doable. I'm a little out of pocket tomorrow, but I'm back here on Thursday.
Yeah, I'll sign
So
it tomorrow.
everybody can sign it over the next couple days.
Yes.
Good.
That would be great. Thank you. Sue, will you let me know when it's ready to be picked up?
Yes, I will.
Fabulous. Thank you all very much.
Thanks,
Thank
Vanessa.
you.
Keep up the good
Thanks,
work.
Vanessa.
Appreciate it.
Have a good night.
See
You
ya.
too.
Okay, that's
What's that?
terrific and done. I got to put a note in here on.
I'm putting a note to myself, Sue, you plan on getting this out in the foyer or something?
I will put it in the foyer this evening before I leave.
Perfect.
Hey,
Thank you.
So we can sign. I may be there on Thursday to sign that. In
we'll get it done.
doc.
Oh, this rain has overwhelmed my gutters.
Oh, no.
wow.
Oh,
Really?
Sounds horrific out there.
well, your barrels are filling, Ray. Your barrels runneth over.
I just got them hooked up 2 days ago, so
Oh.
this is good.
Good
Ray,
time.
what's behind the barn? What's the tank behind the barn?
There's 3 tanks behind the barn.
Okay.
Two
It's for
500
water.
2 500-gallon tanks and a 1,000-gallon tank, and it's all rainwater.
No,
Got
no.
it. Yeah. I saw a big tall tank and I thinking that's got to be a water tank, but it was very impressive.
No, it's pesticides. I like to it's,
You don't want to run out.
He's
Yeah.
got spare Roundup. Ray is going around eradicating poison
yeah.
ivy.
You want to
He's-
buy a gallon?
You know,
They were
All
spraying
right.
something up the road from you there.
It fell off. It fell off a truck, and I'm. Yeah.
oh yes.
Foaming
That's
it.
an impressive tank. That looks amazing.
Came from Texas, and the shipping cost more than the tank did.
Oh, okay.
All right. So great. Moving right along. The next item, the Scenic Roads Memorandum. Sue, I'm going to leave that in your hands to put
Okay,
up
I'll
and talk
can-
through.
be happy to share.
Oh, almost sounds like hail out there.
Boy, it is pelting,
Wow.
isn't it? Yeah. Wow.
So this is the memorandum that was to all the town departments, boards, and committees, just as a reminder about the scenic road bylaw and the need to plan early and get it before the board in the event that they are either removing a tree or disturbing a rock wall. So we know all our departments, do their best to meet all the town's regulations, but sometimes this one is missed. So just wanted to use the last incident as a learning experience and get this out.
Right.
Thank you.
So I know you worked on this. Has this in fact gone out or was this the
No,
final?
you had said you wanted the full board. Tim was not there last meeting, so Deb was not there.
Well,
So
I was not there and
oh,
Right.
Brian, that's right. Brian was not
Yeah.
there. So we were bringing it back just in case anyone had
okay.
any further comments.
And did you make
No.
some changes, Sue, to the little directional document too? Or
I
was
did.
that- Yeah, so that was another thing that,
Yep,
Yep.
the directional document was just,
whatever.
this is
the
just kind of a
item.
flow sheet for information to have on the website, so
Yeah,
people
it's great.
can know whether they need one or not. And this can be rechanged at any time. Can live on the website, so
Well,
Can it be posted on the trees?
it could be posted on the trees if they still exist.
Every tree in town. Don't cut me.
Right?
no, I think it's good. It's always a good reminder. Put it out.
Yes.
Yeah.
I appreciate this. I mean, I can see it took some time to get it done as well. It's a small thing, but I think it matters.
It doesn't. I guess to that point, I did want to mention. I was in the office the other day and asked Sue about our
Oh.
person on Coffin Street who took out an overgrown ramshackle wall. I think it's 37 Coffin Street.
Yes.
And he said he would file for a hearing, and in fact, he has taken out the paperwork, and there will be a hearing. I'm not sure if it's the next meeting or not, Sue.
It is
Oh, good.
June 4.
Excellent.
But as Sue and I were talking about this, it kind of made me wonder. He's probably putting back something that looks quite different than what was there. And I don't mean
Has
a
to be.
ramshackle pile of rocks, but I don't think it's going to be the old rocks. It's going to be some
Oh, really?
new looking manufactured stone, blah blah, whatever. I'm guessing. And so Sue and I were just chatting. Is this something that we should? And I'm not looking to pick on this guy, but going forward, the idea of this was to have, keep the old look, the 200-year-old stones or whatever they are, and even if you pile them back up, it has that, there's age to them.
Yes.
And do we need to have something? Do we need to tweak the bylaw to say, you can't just put a different wall up?
What does the bylaw say now? Does it already speak to reconstructing it or? I mean, we sort of,
It doesn't have reconstruction standards.
Yeah, I mean, we've in the past sort of informally said, well, you can use that and, bend around the driveway or whatever, always
Yes,
implying that the stone stays on the site and gets
The
rebuilt
same,
somehow. Yeah.
right, the same stones. Yep.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not that there be a wall, it's that we not lose that specific rock wall or the rock of the wall.
I missed that meeting. Is this the home that's been thoroughly renovated and rebuilt? Okay,
Yes.
yeah, it's a very different wall.
Oh, so it's not, he didn't put the old stone wall back? Is that what he
No.
did?
He did say, and when he met with you, that he had retained the stones on his property, but clearly there wouldn't be enough because the wall that
I
he's
see.
creating is much different style. So there
Yeah.
clearly wouldn't have been enough to create it using the stone that he had. But he did
There's a-
say that he still
Well,
had them on site.
the other thing about the old stone and the old stone walls is it was a way of just getting stones out of the fields.
Right.
Yes.
And they're not really nice to build with. They're difficult. It's difficult to build a wall out of cannonballs.
Right, they're not stable at all.
yes,
Yeah,
right.
they're not
Yeah.
stable.
Yeah, so it takes more skill, talent, and time to actually put one back together.
So
Obviously, the preference is just to leave it alone and, work
Yes.
around it. Minimize the disturbance that you need to, get a driveway punch through.
Well,
So it's
we-
disappointing.
we could, I don't think that there's a good remedy for this one that's already occurred. But if we get people to come in for the hearings, do we need to change the bylaw or do we just advise in the meeting that, this is what, you're going to set those stones aside, you're going to do what you're going to do, and then you're going to reconstruct it with those stones? And we just, I don't know, maybe it's better to have it written down.
I'm kind of thinking we should have something in there that says you need to use what's on site and or similar stones or something of that
Yeah, I
sort.
hate to sound like a fancy restaurant or something, but, sort of locally sourced,
Right.
Yeah, right,
you know?
right.
True. Yeah, find them in the back part of your property and bring them up here.
And certainly it was a portion of that property. He had nothing in the front. He could build whatever he wanted, honestly. I think we're just talking about what was existing when we have old stone walls. So, all right. So it sounds like, yeah, maybe we can add that to Sue's never-ending task list.
Hey,
Yeah.
so do me a favor, where was this in the bylaw now? Because I'm
That's in the general bylaw. What is it? Let me just go back up. It's the general bylaw 32. But I think your guidance might just belong in regulations, which you can update at any point.
Uh-huh.
So I think that's where and I'm not sure that the bylaw changes because that just talks about process and when it's applicable. But I think you could put it in your regulations if you want to kind of have something that's.
Yeah, there is a formal process for establishing the regulations.
Is there a
Yeah.
connection, though, Sue,
You're-
between planning board rules and regs and the general bylaw?
Well, you cover it you actually cover it in your scenic bylaw in your rules and regs.
We do, okay.
Yeah, because you're the governing body for the scenic bylaw, even though it lives within the general bylaw.
Okay, so what does it say in those rules and regs now?
It really does. It's quiet as to the rebuilding,
Okay.
it doesn't have any standards. It just talks
Okay.
about process, but that's where it could live.
Yeah,
So that makes sense, doesn't
my
it, Brian?
opinion.
That way we just go ahead and do it ourselves.
Yeah,
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 right, and in the section 32, I think the relevant language here that enables us to do this is planning board shall consider, among other things, public safety, scenic views, preservation of historical and regional characteristics.
There you go.
And the new wall is not a characteristic of the wall that was taken down. It's not.
No, and it didn't preserve anything either.
No, and the planning board may adopt a reasonable further standards relative as long as they're not inconsistent. Well, double negative. with this bylaw.
Good.
So
All right.
we'll take a crack at that, and you know, it's not the good news. We don't see these, you know, maybe once a couple times a year or something, and most people do it diligently ahead of time. So
Mhm.
yeah, I
Good reminder.
I have to say, the ornery part of me thinks that we should call this guy and have it marked as an offense and have him pay his $300 for. I mean,
well,
it's a pittance considering.
That's
yeah,
legit.
well
What
that
it
house is listed for gazillions of dollars. It's a crazy amount of money.
I know, it's like finding Trump $1,000 for violation
Yeah,
of his gag
yeah.
order.
Mhm.
Uh, especially since he was told he needed to get this, and he
Yeah.
pretty much blew that off.
Mhm.
But we would need to get Sam Jocelyn to do something, and you
Yeah,
know,
I know.
I think he's
I'm
sympathetic.
just saying it kind of
It's
ticks me off.
no, it's I
Let the
agree.
record show.
Yeah, I I
It
agree.
does. The record
I
does.
agree.
Uncle Ray was kind of ticked off.
He was
Tick off.
yes, he
You
was
don't want that.
he was a little testy. Okay, so I'll talk to Sue about that, and we'll just add that to the your never-ending list. Thank you. The next item, I'll let you speak to as well. I haven't read anything on this, so we'll probably just defer this to the next meeting. But Sue, go ahead and talk about this.
Sure, I'll just let you know why it's up here. So at the top of Ilsley Hill Road, there is a lot that the board granted an A&R for back in 1984, when at the time, the definition for right-of-way did not include the word constructed. It just had to have frontage on a public right-of-way. Today's definition says it's a constructed right-of-way. This particular lot only has about 40 feet of the frontage has a constructed way. The balance is yet to be constructed because there were no homes up there. The town didn't completely construct the road up to the length of the right-of-way that it owns. So the question is who determines whether more right-of-way needs to be constructed, because now there's someone wants to buy it and they want to put in a driveway, whether more road needs to be constructed and to what level. So we did some internal discussion. There really isn't an application which they would come back before the board for. They have an A&R plan. It was appropriate at the time. The change in the language now, you would have a different answer for that, but at the time it was perfectly legitimate. So the decision was that it's going to go to the select board as the owners of the road, and they will determine whether to what extent the owner would need to improve that road to allow it to be called for frontage and for safe access to their property. But because this came up, we thought that it might come up again, and Angus pulled out a policy from Marshfield, where he used to work, that addressed this when it came up. And this is the street determination policy. It was something that went to the planning board. So it's just something to consider, whether you want to have such a policy in place should this happen again, or something similar.
So let me ask the question, if it's the select board who's going to make the determination now, why wouldn't this be a select board policy?
It could, I think it could be.
Okay.
Yeah, I also wondered, you know, how many of these might be in town.
Right, yeah. Well, I think the fact that it was, I think because the planning board has like subdivision rules and regs and things that's similar to that. But I think that's the thinking, but I think you're right. I think most appropriately, it goes to the highway folks and the safety folks who need to decide. But because it's a zoning issue, and the frontage part of it's a zoning issue, because now our term is constructed, that it might be, I think it could land in either place.
Yeah. I haven't read it thoroughly. I did sort of glance through it. It seemed laboriously detailed. I don't know if you had a chance to read it.
I wonder if Angus wrote
Well,
it.
after
Like
reading
a
all
lot
the
of
other,
language there.
after reading all the other stuff on River Road and whatnot, and I said,
Yeah.
I don't have the cycles in my head to go through
It's
this.
a lot. It's
It
a
is
lot.
quite
And I
long.
might say that, well, that's on my agenda, is my term is ending, and I think it's a great thing for whoever's the next chair. I kind of, think Ann might have the right idea here that, maybe this is just something we really don't need to worry too much about. But
On the
Just
other
curious
hand,
how often this comes up.
Yeah.
yeah,
on the other
Um,
hand, I mean, here we've got a document, it's been revised 3 times.
Yeah. Let's see what it looks
I,
like.
I mean, I'm all in favor of ripping something off, if it makes life easier in the future.
Yes.
And this might be one of those things where if it's not in place, then it becomes a big kerfuffle.
True. So, Sue, would you say that if we had had this in place, would it have clarified the process for 0 Ilsley Hill Road?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
an endorsement.
Yeah, and and the applicant went around quite a bit and finally came and said, can he said he was advised by Sam to come to the planning board. And when he did, I thought, okay, I'll get you in front of the board. And I was going to ask Brian to put it on the agenda. And then I thought to myself, I'm like, what application would it be? And it's not a special permit. It's not a new ANR. It's not. So I'm like, I just didn't know, it didn't fit anywhere. So then I'm like, then I took it to Angus and I said, I just don't think this is a planning board issue. I think it should be decided by the people who owned the road and the
Yeah.
public safety that, is determining whether it's appropriate. So, I mean,
it sounded to me,
it really makes no sense to pave the entire frontage because they're the last one on the lot and it just would be a disturbance that would be unnecessary.
Yeah,
Right.
So,
there's similarities to the Poorhouse Lane thing.
yes.
right.
yeah,
But,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if, this is one of those trailing things. I mean, 1984, I don't think any of us even lived in town in 1984. The rules were different. If they've got adequate improved way to safely get to their driveway,
Right.
then I don't know. The logic of it seems that what's the point of building more road?
Right. Yeah.
But I don't know what
Well-
the select board will find, what they're going to do.
I think this should come up in July sometime with the new chair. And I'll ask Sue to move it along till then, okay?
Give you
Okay.
plenty of time to review.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, can't wait.
okay, and then, yeah, maybe we'll take it up, who knows? Okay. Moving right along.
Since I'm here digging around in my bylaws about this stuff, the reorganized bylaw and everything, is that up?
The one with the most recent changes to the definitions is not. Because the Attorney General needs to sign off on those. Usually they wait until the clerk handles that, and as soon as he gets the okay from the Attorney General, he posts it. But the previous changes are up.
Gotcha.
So are we doing minutes or is this, oh, I see you.
Whichever you want, I can,
Oh, you're here, that's fine, do this. There's some,
Just happened to be where it was in the
Binder.
binder.
What's
oh,
this?
and
The-
by the way, again, probably from my jet lagged brain, I just struggled over the weekend looking through this binder. So I went in to see Sue. I said, I, for me, I just need a better way to be looking for something in here. So
Mhm.
she's going to be working on how we come up with so we have a river run file. You know, I was trying to find stuff on Ash Street, but all I could scroll through was River Run. And so it's going to be organized differently, a little bit more concisely.
Great.
So anyway, go ahead.
So this is just correspondence from Groveland, zoning board of appeals, a decision on an application to use the restaurant that site.
Restaurant.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's the only one, right? And then I just included this, the YMC Greater Newburyport Housing Coalition is doing a Housing Advocacy 101 on May 30th.
Mhm.
And it was, when this came out, it was at the 17 Elm Street in Salisbury, but I believe they have since changed the location.
Oh. Well, it is interesting. I mean, Newbury approved their MBTA. That, you know, these folks, I think, helped them.
They gave a lot of credit to these
Yeah,
folks.
Yeah.
Huh, interesting. Yeah.
And Rowley did not pass it. So
Yeah, I saw that. That's interesting. Yeah.
it's all up in the air right now.
Oh, here's another one from Groveland.
So that's the restaurant.
Oh, yeah, and this was one was for the restaurant and this was for the
Oh, for
parking
park.
reduction at the restaurant.
Mexican sports bar.
Yeah,
Was
it's
that
a Mexican sports bar.
like
I noticed that.
cockfighting, or what does that mean?
Good Lord.
Sorry,
Very
Well,
specific.
Olay.
exactly. There's anyway, moving right along. Exactly. Yes,
There you go.
that's the family version. Yeah. Okay.
All right. So the minutes of this is what, April 16th.
April
correct?
16th.
Pretty
Well,
short meeting.
That's brief. Yeah, that was our quickie.
35-minute meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody have anything you need to clarify?
No.
No.
Oh, all right. I move to approve the April 16th planning board minutes.
Second.
All those in favor? Brian Murphy.
And
Okay.
Bardine, aye.
4-0. Very good. And is there one more, Sue? The 7th?
Yes. Yes, there sure is. And it is right. May 7th.
And I missed that meeting. So
This was a
feel free
pretty
to speak up.
one. This is pretty brief as well.
Yep. Well, look good.
Yeah.
All good? Yep.
Yep.
Move to approve the Tuesday, May 7th planning board minutes.
Second.
All those in favor?
And Bardine, aye.
Ray Cook, aye.
Tim Cronin, aye.
And I will abstain. So 301.
Yay.
Very good. Okay. So we're going to talk about the 23 Archelaus Place.
Yes. Which had all these 100 other pages.
Here's another
I was
question
gonna
for the
say,
board.
Yeah.
Did
We
I
need
didn't
to see
recall seeing that in the past.
We did not need to see their $1,700 appraisal, including the
Okay.
invoice.
Yeah.
I mean, more power to them if that's what they had to do to justify the cost, but I don't think we needed to
No,
see it.
I think the selectmen
No.
need that, obviously, but
Yeah.
we don't need to see that. So
Okay.
future reference.
And
So
At the end of the day, I'm most interested in the drawing, which shows this little one building lot being carved out of the whole parcel, and that's pretty compelling.
yeah, and there's a lot of open other space.
Yeah.
Isn't there? Yeah.
I mean,
No.
all, good for them for doing their very thorough job.
Yeah.
It had to be painstaking.
Now, apparently, Sue and I received a note from town council that their application is flawed, and
Oh.
they need to go back and resubmit it. And the rationale for that, Sue, eludes me at the moment, but
It was only because they didn't explain in their whether they were going to change the use or whether the purchaser was going to change the use.
yeah, like
If they were going to change, it's just a little bit of different process and a little bit of a different timeline. So they just need to correct that, and then the clock will
nothing
start
now,
ticking.
yeah,
The clock is not start ticking because they said it's not a full application or intent to sell. I think they have to wait for a purchase and sale agreement in the latter case.
And I'm kind of zooming in on Google Maps. There is a grid of trees there or something.
Yes, it was where the tree farm part was. And according to Deb, who I had a discussion with about this, it is where at some of their horse events that they did cross that property along that line of trees. So she had some interest in just that it remain open for the events, but didn't really think it was, appropriate to purchase it for that, but was hopeful that it would remain open.
Yes, I think if it's a $400,000 lot that the town is going to bristle at keeping it open for horse events.
Right.
Yeah, ordinarily we look at these and we see what the market price was and we make a decision about whether or not it seems to make sense to buy it, right? That's advisory opinion usually is what we go for.
Right.
The
regulations do state that it goes to the planning board, so.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So we'll be seeing it again.
Yes, we will.
Or at least
no doubt about that.
some shortened version of
No doubt about that.
Yes, we don't need the whole thing. Yeah.
All right.
I like the pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Make you feel good about your property values.
Wait a minute. You have somebody in the business there. You must see all these pictures.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The basement looked very familiar to ones I see at work all the time with asbestos. What do we do now? It's supposed to be a retrofit.
Oh dear.
Other items, Sue, do you have anything else that we need to cover?
We do not. So at the next meeting would be the scenic road. We won't be continuing the public hearing for 125, so I'll have a little reprieve on that. So
right.
That's it. Sounds like a short meeting.
Okay. So the it's that time of the year, and it's usually the first or second meeting that we change chairs and other functions, etc. Last year we did it the second meeting. We could probably do it at the next, the June 3rd or 4th, whatever the day is. That's fine with me. So we'll put that on the agenda. And I just wanted to thank Anne, because I know that you served as chair of the meeting at the May 7th.
Oh, you're welcome.
I could not attend. Thank you. And
By the way, for the record, she did a great job, Brian.
Well, I would certainly expect that.
Oh yeah.
We were a little disappointed you came back.
Some of us were.
She was too efficient. Yes. And I also want to express my thanks to Anne for attending the ZBA hearing.
Oh, yes.
I did see that note, did not respond, but thank you for that. And I'm gratified that they seem to see the wisdom of adhering to town regulations.
They absolutely did. They weren't even cracking a smile. So it was pretty tough.
Wow. Well,
Yeah, that's good.
that's encouraging. Yes.
Yeah, I was asking myself, what would be the compelling circumstance? What would be I mean, you have to show a hardship, right?
Right. Well, you know how these things go. You throw the pasta at the wall and see what sticks. I mean, so it's basically one of those.
You
So.
should see my wall.
Well,
Anyway,
you
we're
never
yeah,
know. It
yeah.
was worth to just to be sure that yes, that's
Oh.
you know, thank you for taking time on that. I appreciate it. So I think that's it. Anybody have anything else that of concern or
I have a question, and this is something that I didn't know in advance of the meeting because the select board agenda for this Thursday's meeting came out today, and I read it avidly, as I always do.
uh,
One of the things on that agenda is that Angus is going to be reporting on a recent meeting with the town planner and the state 40R administrative staff about 40R and MBTA. And I don't know how much we want to get into that since it's not on our agenda, but
I can give you an update. It sounded more than it was, I think. So Angus and I met over Zoom with Bill Relt and I forget the woman's name, and just asked questions about what are the parameters of 40R, if anything has changed since Angus was, well ensconced in that program, and would it work for 3A for the MBTA communities? We had a couple of questions that they couldn't answer, which they've kicked over to the 3A people, which are really the gist of what we want to know. But Angus basically wants to know, would it make sense to have to scatter sites? And there are some regulations in 3A that I think lead us to believe that we kind of can't. But in terms of 40A, there's also, or in terms of 40R, there's also some regulations that you wonder, is it worth it? Because the monies are not, they're not a lot with that small amount of increase in the number of the units that you create. So you get paid by the number. The incentive is a payment for the number that of units that would be created under the new zoning once. And that would probably be somewhere either $10,000 or $75,000 that you would get, depending on the number. I think it's up to 20,000. Up to 20 units, you get $10,000. Up
Yeah.
to 100 or something like that, you get 75,000. 21 to 100 units, you get 75,000. So if we'd either get the 10 or the 75,000, which would basically be the cost of the study.
the consultant. Yeah.
And then the second payment is you get 3,000 for each unit that gets a building permit. So when building permits are pulled, you also get 3,000. So that's the second pot of money that you get. But if you time 3,000 times 40 units, 120,000. So the money part is not really incentive. And I think that Angus realizes that. I think it's more that he wanted a different approach, maybe that people wouldn't feel any one group of neighbors wouldn't feel overburdened by a project. So I think they're looking into it.
You could have multiple groups of aggrieved abutters.
That's
even easier to deal with. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we did talk a little bit about, the timeline of getting a 40R on a public property and having to go through that process. It's possible, but it would be in a very aggressive schedule. So I think they need to get the ball rolling and get some of the answers to the final questions. The principal one being, the regulations say that anything under 5 acres doesn't count. So if you're looking at the church site and thinking, we could use that as a small piece of this, the regulations say it won't count. Will they reconsider or reinterpret for a small community that doesn't actually have a defined number of, acres that are required? Maybe. So There's
Okay,
still
so,
there's some questions to answer, but that was the gist of it was just a preliminary discussion about, is it feasible? Yes. What is the degree to which you want to
I
study
mean,
it?
it is a good thing to be able to say that you checked it out, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah.
That you looked into it and, here's the deal.
Right.
yes, yes. And I guess it's not surprising that this is not a particular silver bullet because whatever is. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. And it still only allows 20% affordable.
So
Okay.
they take it is like the 40B group getting back to us? Is that the next step, or
You mean the 40R?
no? You mentioned the section 3 group.
Oh,
So that's the
3A.
40
That's
3A.
that's the MBTA communities.
Yeah. So are they getting back to us? That group that
Yes. So
they-
the staff at Housing and Livable Communities.
yes,
um,
the D
they
40H.
still have a couple questions. I have a couple questions that they need to get back to us on.
Yeah. Okay.
Good. Okay. Thanks.
Okay, well, we'll see where this, as we know, we'll see where this goes.
Yeah.
And,
It's
Yeah.
it's kind of funny that no other communities have thought of this as well, and
Well, some other communities actually have used
good.
both
Okay.
existing ones, and others, but
Okay.
there's also, 40R doesn't like to use prime farmland. All three of the sites
Right.
are prime farmland
Good point. Yep.
as mapped.
Yep.
It doesn't say you can't, but it says then you have to go through the rest of your community and show why there aren't other better places for this. So there are a lot
Well,
of,
we-
I
we
think there's a
could
lot
do
of
that.
there's a lot of technical things that
Yeah.
Mm,
you would have to do
yeah.
to make this fit.
Are they
It gives
are
the
they
state a lot of
guidelines or
control.
are they regs, Sue? Are they the guide
For the
because it had
40R?
those guidelines? No, the
Oh, the 3A?
the MBTA.
They're
the 3A.
guidelines.
Yeah, yeah. So the regs that you're referring to are those the 40R? regs?
40R.
Okay.
Yeah, the 40 Rs that have been built out that are successful are places like along transit lines in Cambridge and, they're those kind of places.
That's what
They're
was,
not,
I think Havel probably has something.
yeah, because they're
Yeah.
dense and
With
urban and they have
transit
transit.
and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, makes a
The
lot of sense.
whole apartment complex right next to the train station in Newburyport.
Yeah.
That's the
that-
40R.
I think that's a 40R. Yeah, I
It
think
is.
you're right.
That-
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing.
So,
Okay.
okay. I think we are out of things to work on, and as Sue wants to get home and see the
Go
game,
Celtics.
you know.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. I had to
Right.
turn
Yeah,
that
they,
on.
they're just getting
Game
warmed
time.
up, hell.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
tell me anything. La, 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 la.
No.
They
Okay,
get all far
everybody.
downstairs.
Well, there's the Bruins. Oh, wait.
Oh,
No.
yeah, please. Another year of promises.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Move to
All right.
adjourn.
Second.
Second, all in favor? Yes. All right.
Yes, we're all in favor.
Thank you all.
Good
Take
night.
care.
Thanks. Good night.
Have a good
See you.
night.
Night.
Bye bye.
Bye.